furloughed workers was, my bill makes it permanent. My bill says we will never use you again as a pawn in the political gamesmanship that's being played out right now. So I'm happy to report the Shutdown Fairness Act, as I've now amended it, adding furloughed workers, is supported by the American Federation of Government Employees, the Federal Managers Association, Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, National Air Traffic Controllers Association. We tragically had a plane go down early in the week. I'm not saying it's because of air traffic control, but we understand the danger. We have to understand the risks we are taking in not paying air traffic controllers so we can fully man our air towers and keep our airspace safe. The International Association of Firefighters supports my bill. The Association of Flight Attendants does. So again, one of the main reasons they support my bills, in addition to the fact that we added furloughed workers, is my bill makes this permanent.
What's up? What's up?
So, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 191, Senate Bill 3012.
Welcome,
I
Pam.
further ask that the Johnson substitute amendment at the desk be considered and agreed to the bill as amended, be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
Senator from Michigan.
Madam President, reserving the right to object, I just want to first start off and say that I just deeply appreciate that Senator Johnson has updated his proposal to pay all.
All right. I have no idea when the vote is going to start. They're talking, after this, so they're going to vote maybe in an hour, in 30 minutes, in 20 minutes. I have no idea. I'm going to go ahead and eat and relax and enjoy. I'll leave this on, so we can enjoy and have a good time. We see some prices doing well, which is nice. Alcons some of them are doing really well, which is very good. The only possible explanation as far as why we are, for some weird, dumb reason, up. I made the video about 2.5 hours ago or 3 hours ago, right? And we were heading lower. It was just a different trend. Now, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, we're seeing some more green. This is Ondo, very good. Ondo, we like that. We really like that, right? Algorand, we really like that, right? Which is really, it's pretty awesome. Oh, by the way, NVIDIA, I don't know if you saw NVIDIA. NVIDIA is getting hit. NVIDIA is getting hit. Look, NVIDIA, 184. So obviously stocks are getting hurt today a little bit more, which it matters. Trump was live. I was busy. I was at Walmart, so I couldn't go live. I was, shopping. The good life. Shopping. But so I'm happy to see NVIDIA down, Palantir down. Yeah. So, relax, enjoy with me. We'll probably watch the vote live. I don't know. I don't think. I just heard someone, a Republican senator, say that even on Polymarket, they're saying that the vote, it could go 40 plus days next week. December, I think the Fed is talking about the rate. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That might be it. Let me take a look. Welcome, fam. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Have a good one. Welcome. What's going on?
The bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Yeah, I saw this.
Does the senator from Wisconsin so modify your request? His request?
Reserving the right to object, Madam President. It's important the American public understands what's going on here. Again, I came down here 2 weeks ago. I modified my bill quite dramatically. Entered into talks immediately with the senator from Delaware and the senator from Michigan.
I mean, yeah, that does help. That does help. Just in case FOMC members do change and support the 25, or Powell tells us, you know what? I mean, because we're gonna get the minutes, right? And in the minutes, that's where things are gonna come out. So yeah, if we have some signs that there's a cut coming in December, absolutely, we're gonna start moving up. And that's what I was telling you. Like, there's many things. Like, we got the shutdown. If we change, because in the previous FOMC, everybody was like, no way, they're not going to cut. This is bearish. People are selling, after the FOMC, everybody was pretty bearish. They were selling. So raise your hand if you bought the dip, because we did. We did. When it hurts, when it's painful, when it's bloody on the streets, when everybody hates you, when everybody despises you, that's when you go in. I can do this all day.
By our leadership, by OMB, by the unions.
I broke the dip.
Our bill is in a really good place right now. We've tried to think of everything. No federal employee would be excluded from this.
I'm gonna highlight this one. The best way to make money in the market is to buy dead altcoins, McFly. You know how much Ondo I've been buying? Literally, it went up to 16% today. 16%. I look at my wallet and I'm happy because I've been buying the Let for Dead. You are buying the Let for Dead. And when everybody's like, I thought they were dead. You're like, rookie mistake. Rookie mistake, because you needed to see the green. You needed to see the green to say, oh yes, crypto works. How many times do we have to repeat the same thing, bro? How many times?
The senator from Michigan says, my bill hostage. I see our leader on the floor here. He's been doing everything he possibly can to help Democrats release their own hostage.
But down 9,000%.
Once you do that, we're more than happy to talk to you about how to repair the damage done by Obamacare and transition to a system that works. But they're playing politics. They're using federal employees, and quite honestly, the American public.
What is this? Democrats vow to continue the shutdown for the sake of the party's brand. Somebody hold me, please. Somebody hold me, please, right now.
It's backed by the public sector unions who generally don't support things I'm putting forward. And if the senator insists on objecting to this, preventing these people, these workers, these people who keep us safe from getting paid in this round, my guess is we'll take a vote on this to proceed to the bill. The problem with that is it's going to take much more time. If we could pass this by unanimous consent right now, we could send it over the House. The Speaker has already indicated if we pass the Shutdown Fairness Act, he'll bring his people back. They're on a 48-hour call. We could have this passed by Monday. Our skies would be safer again. Federal employees would be treated fairly. They would be paid. And they will never, ever be used as pawns in this kind of partisan, this grotesque partisan gamesmanship. So, Madam President, I will not modify my request.
Wisconsin yield for
Absolutely.
Madam President, I'm trying to understand what's going on here, and perhaps the senator from Michigan can clarify. So every public sector employees union is supporting the senator from Wisconsin's bill, but you're objecting because you think it grants too much power to the president. Now, if that's, I don't know how every public sector employees
33
union would be in
Xrp, I
support
like
of this
that.
bill.
I
And
like
my
that.
understanding is the modification proposed by the senator from Michigan would essentially cover back pay,
5%, okay.
but wouldn't do
Not bad.
anything to address going forward.
Take it.
So in other words, we're going to keep federal employees hostage. So they might get paid for back pay, but starting tomorrow, they're not going to get paid again.
That's sad, man. I mean, that's
And that
just
means that in the
crazy.
future, they continue to be pawns. They continue to get held hostage. This is a straightforward approach that addresses that issue. And that everybody in this chamber who isn't getting paid, I can't believe people come down here and look these people in the eye when he's saying right here, we will pay them not only for today, but for tomorrow and for the entire year. And we
You're
won't
right
allow
back,
them to
fam.
be held hostage and be pawns in a political
eat
game
something.
in the future. And my understanding is the senator from Michigan, on behalf, I suppose, of other Democrats, is objecting to that. Please, please help me understand. This is a straightforward proposal which addresses the concern that millions of Americans have who are headed to food banks and can't pay their rent. And you're coming down here and saying you're going to object because you just want to pay them for yesterday, not for tomorrow or the next day after that. It's about leverage, isn't it? Isn't that what you all been saying? It's about leverage? This isn't leverage. This is the lives of the American people. Senator of Wisconsin has put forward a straightforward proposal to pay people, federal employees, today, tomorrow, and in the future. And what you're essentially saying is, well, I'm fine with paying them for yesterday, but we're not going to pay them for tomorrow or for the day after that, for the future. And we don't seem to care that there are men and women in uniform who are frequenting food banks, who are not making rent payments, or trying to borrow to get by because it's leverage. So, Mr. President, Madam President, I should say, I would hope, we're going to vote on this, so Senator from Michigan can object to the unanimous consent
Vote is
request
coming.
the Senator from
Early.
Wisconsin made.
Number 15.
But everybody in this chamber is going to be put on the record on whether or not they want to pay federal employees. Not yesterday, but today and tomorrow and into the future. I am tired of the political games. I really am. And so feel free to object to something that I don't know how anybody in their right mind can walk into this chamber, look these people in the eye, and say, we're not going to pay you. So we're going to vote on it. You object to it right now, but everybody in this chamber is going to vote on whether or not they want to pay federal employees, something that every single public employees union has said they support. I yield back to the Senator from Wisconsin.
Reclaiming my time for briefly to reemphasize the fact if we can pass this now, and again, Senator from Michigan, I'm literally begging you, do not object. Do not object. It's still going to take a couple days to actually pass this. If we have to go the route of motion to proceed, getting on a bill, I mean, that's going to take quite some time. Our skies can't remain at this level right now. We can't continue these airport delays. We can't continue to use public sector employees and the American public in general as pawns in this partisan gamesmanship. So literally, I think you know me. You know I'm saying this in good faith. Please do not object. Let this bill pass so the House can come back and sign this into law, and these good people who are forced into work or who have been furloughed can get the pay they deserve. Again, today, tomorrow, and in the future, assured they will never, ever be used like pawns in these partisanship games. But again, I'll underscore, I will not modify my request.
Madam President.
Objection is heard to the modification.
I have
Senator,
not objected yet.
is there an objection to the original request?
Thank you, Madam President. Senator from Wisconsin, I know your intent. You and I have worked on a lot of issues. That's not in question here. We do have problems with some of the language in this bill just to make sure that we have guardrails. I want to pay federal employees. That's why I have the bill that's on the floor right now that I'm trying to move. It will pay federal employees. It'll pay contractors as well. You're not doing that, I understand. Everybody who is being shorted right now should be paid, and that's what my legislation does. So we could do that. You know, I'm happy if you want to take my legislation and put your name on it, I'll support it, and we'll pass it right now and send it there, and people are going to get paid. So if you really want to do that, we could do that today. Would you want me to just to put your name on this bill and then we'll pass it? That would be fine to do that. But folks are, excuse me, I haven't reclaimed. So we can make that happen. And if you put it on the floor later, we'll go through the process. I would hope that you and I, during that process, could work on language to perhaps address some of the concerns that I have. It's not that we pay people. That's not my concern. I wouldn't be offering this legislation here today if I was concerned about that. I want them paid. Labor unions support my bill too. No surprise. They're getting paid. And that's why I've introduced it. This is not a political game. I hope we get the shutdown opened. I hope we're able to find common ground to say that we want to lower the cost of Americans of affordable health care, that we don't want to see their premiums go up and people
12
lose
months.
insurance. I hope we can
Thank
do that.
you.
It's not
Would you like to be a moderator, brother?
I don't see this as leverage.
All you have to
Now, a
do
president who refuses to release
is
SNAP funds to feed
listen
people,
to my
that is
request
what
when I
is
talk to you
irresponsible
and delete spam,
irreprehensible
not hate,
leverage.
not
Money's
just
available
spam.
to
Somebody
feed people
spamming
right now,
bunch.
and this
Just
president
delete,
saying no.
mute.
The
We'll
court
teach you.
has ordered him to put that money into food, and he says, I'm going to appeal it. That is absolutely despicable that the President of the United States wants to starve children in order to get his way. We got to move beyond that. We got to find common ground. I hope we can find common ground in this bill. My bill is just plain, simple, clean, no games, no other language. We know we have to have guardrails when we have a lawless president. We better put some guardrails in. He walks over Congress all the time. My colleagues on the Republican side, just let him walk over Congress all the time. I don't know why you ran for office if you just want to be run over by a president. We're a co-equal branch of government. We're here to represent the people of our states. So let's work together, be thoughtful about this, understand that if Congress puts this law forward, it actually goes the way we want, and we don't have a president that basically thumbs their nose at members of the Senate and the House and do what he wants, and he knows the Republicans will say, oh, well, that's fine. We're just here to rubber stamp. That's what we're here for. So let's hope we can work together to get this right, pay employees. They should be. They have a right to that. And I think we can do this if we can get together and get beyond the rhetoric and games we're here and the leader that I heard. It's also on this side as well. So let's work together. Let's open up this government. Let's end this shutdown. Let's make sure people have affordable health care in this country. Let's make sure our employees get paid. Let's do all of that this weekend. I'm on board for all that. Hopefully we can get it done.
Is there objection to the original request?
Madam President.
Objection is heard. Senator from Wisconsin.
So again, let me correct, I hate to say falsehoods, just presented here in the chamber. My bill is completely silent in terms of presidential authority. The senator from Michigan, I know they wanted to put language in there to restrict presidential authority, but the fact of the matter is, and I made him well aware of this, that's a bill that would never be signed into law. So if you're serious about actually paying the workers, you'll recognize the fact, admit that
Day
my
in the
bill is
House.
completely silent. It does not add, it does not detract from presidential authority. There's nothing in the bill that does that. Secondly, we tried to come accommodations with a number of senators from the other side for a couple of weeks. Pretty much fell on deaf ears. So again, I know it is unfortunate that he objected right now, and if we proceed and vote and actually get on.
The Senate needs 60 votes to pass a bill.
These days, you need 60 votes for everything.
You need 60 votes.
Requires 60 votes in the United States Senate.
But in the Senate, you've got this rule where you got to get, these days, 60 votes.
You need 60 votes to get major things done.
60 votes, and you can block it with 40.
The United States Senate, you've got to have 60 votes for everything.
You still have to deal with 60 votes.
You need 60 votes to pass a law in the Senate.
60 votes to get anything passed.
You need 60 votes?
Need 60 votes. We need 60 votes.
And we need 60 votes.
Not 50 votes.
60 votes.
Obviously, you need 60 votes.
Everything requires 60 votes.
And we've got to get 60 votes in the Senate.
If you don't have 60 votes, you can't get legislation passed.
Say that in plain English, it means you have to have 60 votes.
We need 60 votes in the Senate. You need 60 votes.
You still need 60 votes over in the Senate.
With spending bills subject to 60 votes.
If you couldn't get 60 votes, you couldn't get something moving.
And of course, the Senate requires 60 votes. It's a supermajority. You need 60 votes.
You've got to get essentially 60 votes in order to get anything through the Senate.
In the Senate, you know, they need 60 votes.
Something called a filibuster that requires 60 votes.
You need 60 votes. You still need 60 votes. They need 60.
You get the point. You get the point.
But here is the problem with the proposal from my colleague from Wisconsin. And that is we have a president right now that is violating the Constitution. Every time you hear the President of the United States say, hey, I'm ending that program because it's not in alignment with my priorities, or a cabinet member who says, we're going to kill those grants because they're not in alignment with the president's priorities. What you are hearing is an authoritarian statement in violation of the Constitution. So in recognition, we have an out-of-control tyrant in the Oval Office violating the Constitution. We have a responsibility right here to defend the Constitution. And that's exactly why my colleague from Michigan put those protections into the bill. If you have a president who chooses what programs are funded and not, that is an authoritarian country, and that's what we have right now. The whole vision of our nation was founded on these senators and these House members coming from different districts and different states with different life experiences and different geographic interests, and bringing them to forge a consensus or forge a vision of how to address the challenges in every part of our nation. Not to have one person down Pennsylvania Avenue who knows a little bit about New York and a little bit about Florida, has a certain one point of view, be a tyrant. Martial law would be empowered by the proposal from Wisconsin. And that's why my colleague from Michigan was absolutely right to ensure we.
Fox says Senate vote to end shutdown may not happen today. It's probably not gonna be this one, guys. We're gonna have many lives like this where we don't get the vote. And right now, they're going live with what they're talking about, with what you're watching right now, because the vote is coming in. Thank you, nation. Welcome. Thank you for the dono. Appreciate it. Understand that we need a cut in December. We need the shutdown gone and over for things to just go back to normal and to have a good Pumptober and Moonbember. We didn't have a good Pumptober just because of this mess. But we had a beautiful Ripple swell, ETFs, beautiful news, partnerships, and more. It just makes total sense. It's just nonsense, just absolute macro nonsense, bro. That's what's going on. But it allows us to buy more, to hold more, to DCA more. That's it. That is it.
We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have gone, they're crazy. They're crazy. But they don't care if they hurt the country. But we've approved it 14 times. We've approved a opening up 14 times, and they keep rejecting it. And I guess maybe they will again. Let's see what happens. They want to have a lot of bad things happen, bad things for our country. We're not going to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into our country illegally. We're not going to do it. To people came from prisons, they came from mental institutions, they're drug dealers. They want to give them medical care. We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have.
Let's open the government up. Let's pay our controllers and reduce the pressure. That's not happening.
Is there any room for bipartisanship? Because it seems like that's the main purpose of the filibuster, is to create some sort of compromise. So
Well, it didn't work, obviously.
So
You're right. That was the purpose of the filibuster, bipartisanship, but that didn't work.
So are you saying the next 3 years in Washington there shouldn't be?
Well, no. If the filibuster is terminated, we will have the most productive 3 years in the history of our country. If the filibuster is not terminated, then we will be in a slog with the Democrats, and very little for either party will be done.
Is there any room for bipartisanship?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what happened to Obama. Because, I mean, I was obviously not an adult. Oh, yeah, maybe, but I wasn't really into politics or the economy or business, right? I wasn't even working. But all I heard was that Obama wanted to do so many things, but it was every single time blocked in Congress. That's what I've heard the most. Because exactly of the filibuster and all of that. I remember. Yeah, the live is on. It's just they're not speaking. It's not muted. I'm not muting it. They just are not saying anything. It just takes a while. Welcome to Government 101, brother. It takes forever to do something. It's just what it is. You got mixed feelings on this? I see. I would love to tell you exactly when the vote is going to happen, but guess what? I have no clue. It just comes. There's no specific time for the vote. It's like they start talking. They've been going on for like 2 hours right now, 2.5 hours. We've been live for 28 minutes. So it could happen in 20 minutes, in 30 minutes, in less than that. We don't know. We don't know, but it's going to happen today. Based on what Fox said, it seems this is going to be a test vote. It's going to be just a test vote. But they're going to vote, so they can open it today. So it's just more confusion, I think, for a lot of people, right? But what else are you expecting, you know?
Affordability is what the American people elected this president to do, and he is doing it, and you guys refuse to cover it, and you refuse to cover that the previous administration created the worst unaffordability crisis in American history. And I've been watching the TV all day saying that he doesn't want to talk about affordability. That's what he's working on every day, and that's what this administration is doing.
Right, but you know why they refuse to cover it?
Can I
because they're fake news. That's why. Go ahead.
Can I get her someone?
Sure. Caroline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
Please consider it.
You know what? That's a very good decision you just made. Please don't leave us, Caroline.
Affordability is what the American people elected this president.
So fun. But and here we have another one. Oh man. Dude, where should I start with this, bro? Where should I start with? I'm so happy I'm not working for the government, bro, because I'm just a talking head here on YouTube, and I appreciate and I love my community and everything that we've been doing so far for so many years right now. But all I'm trying to say is compartmentalize, and I'm putting everything together to tell you, right? When you ask me why is my crypto down, it's not just, oh, it's down because someone sold. No, it's not down just because of that. It's because it's a mess. It's a complete mess out there. It's a complete mess. We're going to go ahead and mute you just for a little bit. Thank you so much for saying hi or so. Love it, bro. But watch out with the spam, bro, okay? TYZ in the house. So Russia, that's another problem. That supposed to be over. The war's supposed to be over. Something's supposed to be done, but no, nothing happens. Same thing. Just more chances to buy a crypto at a cheaper price, right? Just more chances.
So we're gonna just rent a car and drive.
So, well, we ended up getting a hotel.
Drive from where?
From here to Wilmington, North Carolina. People are really hurting out here, and it's not just the traveling public, but it's affecting the whole economy, and you people are to blame.
So we're gonna just rent a car and drive.
The House, the Senate, and the White House.
Pamela has a question.
I'm wondering what you say to Republicans and critics of what the Democrats are doing, arguing that, look, the bottom line is if Democrats in the Senate voted for the CR, the government would reopen. That's the fact. And they're using Americans as leverage in a crisis of their own making. That's what Republicans argue. They say, look, the Democrats came up with the ACA. The Democrats came up with this expiration date for the subsidies. And now this is, a crisis of their own making, and they're holding Americans hostage, basically. What
the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Pamela.
Coming in. It's so beautiful to see our degens here on CT. As soon as we have a pump, as soon as we have a 10% or so, let's absolutely explode right now. I just love it, man. CT was crazy today, right? Hassett says the economy will reopen. We'll recover once the government reopens. Well, yeah, but as soon as the government reopens, Republicans and Trump are not gonna go easy on Dems. They're not. And Democrats know that. It's infuriating Trump to a level that once they open the government, bro, it's gonna be bloody. They're gonna go all in. Once they open the government, bro, I think this one, it's really hurting, of course, many, a lot of people, so many people, but I can already tell, I don't know what they're trying to do. Obviously they want stuff for healthcare, but it's just gonna be one of those situations where it was just a never-ending cycle of politics. Yep. Never-ending cycle of politics, my friends. Don't know really, how in the world we came from crypto to this, because obviously a beautiful 5%, as you're seeing on the screen right now, it's good, it's nice, but it can come down today too. It can all come down today if the hope that people all over the world gets diminished and it comes down and people get liquidated, and here we go back again to the cave, you know. They're trying to override the big beautiful bill. I see. I mean, that was a big W for Republicans, of course, yes. So they're trying, they're grabbing onto something, the Democrats. They're really just kind of, I think Schumer and everyone else is just trying to make a stand because they lost everything. The White House, Congress, Supreme Court, like they lost. So what's going to happen is that as soon as the government reopens, that filibuster is gone, bro. And many more things. Now, some of you I'm seeing on the screen, you're telling me about an urgent Fed meeting. I don't know about that. I'll take a look at it. I don't know about that. As your short place, I closed it, bro, because those are funds that were there for me to, you know, train and show you guys, which was pretty nice because I came in. The TA was the juice part, right? But it's closed. So I'll take a look at the FOMC. Like I said, you know, a couple minutes ago, if they cut 25, amazing. Awesome. Sure, let's go. Do it. Amazing. Quentin Miller, hey, thank you, bro. No worries. I mean, if you're not that tech savvy here, not a problem. I just wanted to say thank you because for 12 months you've been a member, and one way that I give back is by bringing you on board, right? So if you had a Discord, right, I will bring you to the Discord for free, and I hired my people my followers. Like I hired JB, I hired Ghost, I had so many people, the fans, you know, the community. That's where I hire my people. That's where I get to know my community, and we just built incredible relationships, right? So as long as I remember your name and I see you here, I mean, that's all I need. Blood is in the house. Welcome. I mean, I'm excited that today we're having some 90%, 80. I mean, how in the world? That's AI. Pretty nice. Come on, Fox. Tell me, how long are we going to be waiting for that boat to come? That's why I have this is called the United States Senate, right? This is the main live for that. So you are in the right place. You are in the right place. So yesterday, Thursday, they started at 10 a.m. and they adjourned at 5:57 p.m. So I'm not going to stay here until 5:57 p.m. if they go that long, but I'm expecting they vote soon, and they'll continue talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. Here it is. This is the one I was telling you. Let me zoom out a little. Oh, wait. I'll do this. There you go. Better. When will the government shutdown end? Polymarket says November 20th. November 20th, guys. I just put it simply. This country is going to look much different. This country is going to perish and suffer from the inside out if it's until November 20th. I mean, that's so many days for a lot of people. Flights, I don't know, bro. I mean, that's sad. That's honestly just a disgrace that we're going 50 days with no resolution. I mean, what? Are you joking? Almost 2 months. Well, I'm just quoting what Polymarket, which is a pollster, right, is telling you. A pollster. Okay, here they come. Here they come. They're good. They're moving slow. They're moving slow, but here they come. They're coming in, you know, all of the senators. Some of them are going to talk and whatever. Now, guys, that could be a bull trap, okay? Listen, that could be a bull trap. So don't get it confused, okay? Meaning that from here, boom, it could happen. We've seen it before many times. So just keep an eye on it. People have asked me about Zcash. Sure, I mean, Zcash, it's one that it's on a tear right now. Do I have it? No. I'm not into it. I don't want to buy it. I wish them the best and have a great life. That's it. Yeah. Zcash. Someone is obviously not selling yet. Makes no sense. It's gonna come down to $100. It's gonna come down. So let me tell you how much money people are gonna lose. Yeah, about 80%. You come down, in my opinion, eventually. If not, I think a good 50 makes sense. Somebody's gonna sell a big whale and boom, it's over. And then it's gonna come back and it's gonna consolidate, stuff like that. So no, I'm not buying that beauty. You guys have a good life with that one. I'm not getting in. You know what I'm buying? Starts with X. Can somebody end it for me? Finish it for me. Starts with X. That's what I'm buying. That's what I'm holding. And because I'm bullish. RP in the house. X Chrono. XB. Oh. Starts with X. Oh, you guys. Yeah, I mean, I give you one opportunity, and you take it. I love my fam. So yeah, I mean, I wish them the best to, you know, see cash, but when you see something go from $30 to $700, market cap of 3.8 billion, 21 million supply. I mean, the supply is beautiful, absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning supply. Wow. That's incredible. Not bad. Absolutely stunning supply. Wow. 21? Wow. That's incredible. That is pretty good. It's gonna take some volume and liquidity from other different projects, right? That's it. That's the thing about crypto, you know. Zcash, now it's another big one that comes in. It dethrones some other cryptos, and it's the sugar right now. Everybody's looking at it. Good stuff. We'll take my time with that one later on. Appreciate you guys for being here. We got a lot of people. Hey, thank you guys. Drop a like, subscribe, links down below. Join me on BTCC. Your time is not get 2,000 XRP competition giveaway. The link is down below. First one. The question is, who is at fault for the shutdown? Republicans? Democrats? Trump alone? Or all of them? Democrats are winning. Oh, Schumer's coming in. Schumer's coming in. Oh, you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this. I have it here on. Let me show you.
Madam President.
Here it is.
First, after I
Oh,
finish
boy.
my remarks, I ask unanimous consent the following senators be recognized for up to 5 minutes each. Peters, Baldwin, Kelly, Welch.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President, and I'll be brief. After so many failed votes, it's clear we need to try something different. What the Senate is doing isn't working for either party and isn't working for the American people. Democrats have said we must address the health care crisis, but Republicans have repeatedly said they won't negotiate to lower the health care costs until the government reopens. So let's find a path to honor both positions. Democrats would like to see an end to this shutdown, and we want to respect Leader Thune's desire not to negotiate on ACA until after the government reopens. Therefore, we'd like to offer a simple proposal that would reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits simultaneously, and then have the opportunity to start negotiating longer-term solutions to health care costs. Let's do all three. I've spoken with my caucus, and Democrats are offering a very simple compromise. Democrats are ready to clear the way to quickly pass a government funding bill that includes health care affordability. Leader Thune just needs to add a clean one-year extension of the ACA tax credits to the CR so that we can immediately address rising health care costs. That's not a negotiation. It's an extension of current law, something we do all the time around here, as we all know. But we also offer this. Let's create a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations after the government reopens on reforms, ahead of next year's enrollment period, to provide long-term certainty that health care costs will be more affordable. This proposal reopens the government and ensures working families who are shopping right now for their health care get certainty and financial relief. While open enrollment has begun, insurers can update their rates after we pass a simple extension of the tax credits. With this approach, we do not negotiate health care in the shutdown, as Leader Thune has maintained he wishes, and the American people get the tax credit extension they want. That is what many of our Republican colleagues have floated over the last 6 weeks as a compromise, a one-year tax credit extension and reforms to the credit beyond that. We will agree with the Republican request not to start negotiations until after the government reopens. All Republicans have to do is say yes to extend current law for 1 year. It makes sense. And since what we're proposing is only a simple extension of current law, the Senate could do this within a few hours. This is a reasonable offer that reopens the government, deals with health care affordability, and begins a process of negotiating reforms to the ACA tax credits for the future. Now, the ball is in the Republicans' court. We need Republicans to just say yes. I yield to Senator Peters.
Thank you, Leader Schumer.
Senator from Michigan.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Republicans have repeatedly said that they will not negotiate reforms to the health care law credits until the government reopens. I will tell you right now that all my colleagues on this side of the aisle definitely want to open government, and we want to do it as soon as possible. We are also willing to respect Leader Thune's desire to negotiate after the shutdown. So Democrats are offering today a very simple, straightforward compromise. And if Republicans accept this, we could open the government today. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Show that we can come together with a common sense, bipartisan compromise and open government. All we have to do is have a one-year extension of a clean bill that's law now, it's expired. It's just an extension of an existing law dealing with tax credits. And over the next year, we can figure out a long-term solution to the healthcare challenge that we're facing as a country. This proposal opens the government and ensures that families who are shopping right now for their health care can get immediate financial relief at a time when costs are driving families to make incredibly difficult financial decisions. And we believe that while we're trying to figure out a long-term solution to the healthcare crisis, people should not be penalized. People should not be suffering. Give the relief that they need now, and over the next year, we'll work together to find a more comprehensive solution. We know that right now our nation is experiencing a healthcare crisis where costs are skyrocketing and too many Americans are risking losing their coverage. Too many Americans are struggling to choose between food or gas or healthcare. And it's not just Americans in blue states, let's be clear. Families in every state across the country are paying these prices. Every one of us have families that are experiencing this now in our states. But we can take action today to give our constituents some immediate financial relief and prevent them from being priced out of the insurance market. We all want to end the shutdown. We want to ensure that government services can continue, and we want to ensure our hardworking federal employees get the pay that they have earned. But Democrats have made clear since day one that in order to get the votes that Republicans need, we must address the healthcare crisis. Because the American people have made it clear they want Congress to take action on this issue, it's literally life or death for far too many American families. I know many of my Republican colleagues want to work on this issue too. I've had conversations with so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who want to try to figure out how we fix this. But they've said repeatedly we won't negotiate until government reopens. Leader Thune has said, quote, "Give us the votes to open up the government. Then we will have a conversation about some of these issues that you want to discuss." And I think health care is certainly something we are anxious to all talk about, end of quote. And perhaps most importantly, even President Trump has said he'd be happy to work with Democrats on health care policies, but only once the government is reopened. Well, I agree with my Republican colleagues. It's not realistic to reform a major health care policy in just a few days. That's not going to happen. And I respect Leader Thune and President Trump's desire to work on this when the government is reopened. And I'm willing to compromise on that. My colleagues are willing to compromise this, and it's something that can be done today if we need to. But our Republican colleagues have to be willing to compromise too. Compromise is a two-way street. And they have shown us that and we want them to show us that these are not just empty words, that they really are willing to compromise, and they do want to take action. So that's why we've put forward this very simple proposal. Extend the tax credits for 1 year. We are not asking to make any major changes to the current law. Just extend that to protect people who are suffering right now and are hurting. We're just asking to keep the credits in place for 1 year so that families can see some immediate financial relief from the costs that are going through the roof, so that they can make important decisions about buying their health care right now during open enrollment. This is live. People are dealing with this situation as we speak. We can fix this. If we care about making sure families can afford their health care, we should all agree on that. We should get 100 votes here for people to say we're going to do everything we can to protect health care for Americans. And we can do that right now. And we can open up government right now. We can pay employees. We can move this country forward if we do that. All we need is a very simple extension of a law that's already existed for some time. We know that from the start that any deal will ultimately have to be a compromise. It doesn't have to be unanimous. There'll be likely folks on both sides that may feel uncomfortable with this, and I get that, and that's the way this place works. But our proposal would try to work in a bipartisan way by creating a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations on reforms ahead of next year's enrollment process. So we're not pulling the rug out from underneath families. We're going to do it ahead of time so folks know exactly what to expect going forward. So I'm telling you now, Madam President, if we vote for this compromise today, we could open up government. This could all be behind us. Families could get some certainty for their future for the next year while we look at long-term solutions. The government can open, but it takes all of us just to say, we're willing to compromise for the good of the country. My colleagues are standing here saying we are willing to compromise for the good of the country. I just hope my Republican colleagues agree.
Mr. President, or Madam President.
Senator from Vermont.
There's a lot of focus on what divides us, but the real opportunity here is what unites us. We're having a contest here with this shutdown where our side is very concerned about what happens to these tax credits. Your side is very concerned about using a shutdown as a tactic. I think we both have pretty valid arguments, and one of the reasons I think there's merit in our position is the reality that once the December 31st deadline arrives, people literally are going to lose health care. So what unites us? Both sides really do want to have all of government paid, and we want to be reopened. And both sides, I believe, want to make certain that the people we represent continue to have access to health care, that the health care they had in 2025, they're going to have in 2026. That won't happen unless we resolve this. And given the time crunch, the only way, as a practical matter, we can do something that helps the people you represent and helps the people I represent is extend what we have for another year. So it's not an overreach on the part of, say, folks who want a single-payer health care system. It's not overreach or diminishing any concerns folks on the Republican side, and by the way, on our side, have about the cost of health care. We are in a practical crunch where unless this United States Senate acts, the people we represent are going to lose health care. That's the fact. That's just the fact. It's the way it is. And we've talked about how those premium increases are going to spike. So what do we do in this situation where Leader Thune, who we trust, who we respect, is taking a position that we won't have discussions until we reopen government? Why do we object to that or have cautions about that? We trust Leader Thune. We trust our Republican colleagues. But what happens after it goes out of the Senate? We have no guarantee whatsoever it'll be taken up in the House at all. So the question that a farmer in Vermont would ask me at the end of any agreement is, Peter, what does this mean? Will I get my health care in 2026? And unless we have it where it's going to get a vote with some support from our colleagues in the House, the answer is I don't know, but I hope so. So we find ourselves with January 1st here, and that farmer, that small business person, not having health care. And again, this is the lament I have. What we're trying to do here, the folks who are going to benefit or not suffer are Republicans who voted for Trump and Democrats who voted for Harris and independents who didn't like either candidate at all. So we have an opportunity. And actually, we're the only people in the United States of America who have an opportunity. The only people, it's us, who've been entrusted by the people who we represent with their vote to solve this.
All right, he's making me sleep a little bit. Let me listen to this one.
I think that there is no reason to surrender now, every reason to stand firm. I think that there is no reason to surrender now, every reason to stand firm.
Tough. Welcome, everybody. We're waiting for the vote right now. They're talking. I mean, maybe 1-2 more Dems, and then they're going to get to the vote or so. Oh, I got it gifted. I don't know where they got it. Maybe Amazon or Etsy. Yeah, it's a pretty nice Xrp coin. I like it a lot. Fed Williams, Fed may soon need to expand balance sheet for liquidity needs. Let's print, everybody. Let's print now. Former air traffic controller unveils truth about airports, flight cancellation delays. It's tough, man.
Madam President.
Senator from Wisconsin.
I rise today to echo, to underscore, to emphasize what my colleagues have just presented. This is our path forward. This is how we reopen the government and lower health care costs for millions of Americans. This is what compromise looks like. Look, if I had my way, we would be making these enhanced premium tax credits for working families permanent. But I understand that we can't get everything that we want. That's how compromise works. And that is what our constituents expect that we do when we come here. I know that giving relief for the 275,000 Wisconsinites who are shopping online at healthcare.gov for healthcare as we speak, I know that this relief is urgent, just like it's urgent that we reopen our government. I've had so many conversations with my Republican colleagues here in the Senate. I know that so many of them have expressed privately that they are supportive of a one-year extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits. You know, they're hearing from their constituents who will no longer be able to afford their health care also, just like we are. So I hope my Republican colleagues can join us in voting to pass this proposal so that we can finally put this shutdown behind us
Happy
and
Friday.
allow 22 million Americans to rest easier, knowing that their health care costs are not going to double, triple, or even worse. That I yield to the Senate.
Madam President.
Senator from Arizona.
Madam President, for more than a month, I've been here in D.C. fighting to keep health care costs from spiking for my constituents. And for more than a month, I've been hearing from people I represent about what their health care costs now and what it will cost if these tax credits are allowed to expire. People like Leslie from Buckeye, who's a diabetic and whose premium is about to go from $600 a month to $1,000 per month. And people like Jessica from Yuma, her and her husband currently pay $560 per month for them and their 3 kids. That's going to go to $3,100 per month if these tax credits are not extended. And for more than a month, I've been waiting for the President or Republican leadership in the Senate to sit down with us and try to figure this out, or even show that they care about the millions of Americans in our states who are in the same boat, people like Leslie and Jessica. Now, that hasn't happened. The President, as far as I can tell, has spent about 1 hour in the Oval Office with congressional leadership on this issue. 1 hour in 37 days. He has spent more time talking about his ballroom and on 2 overseas trips and at a costume party at Mar-a-Lago and, of course, on the golf course. The House of Representatives, they've been on a 7-week paid vacation. They are not even pretending to care about these rising health care costs. And the Senate, not much better. Week after week, the leadership of the Senate breaks for a long weekend, all while Americans are suffering. And they're suffering even more because Donald Trump is using them as pawns in this fight. He's still trying to illegally withhold SNAP benefits from hungry Americans, including children, to use as leverage. Donald Trump's official position on the government shutdown is that he will let hardworking Americans go hungry until we give in to his demands to let health care premiums go up dramatically for millions of Americans. Now, is that the position of my Republican colleagues? I keep hearing from many of you that you want to do something about this. but you say you can't negotiate. Not now. So let's just lay it out here. We need to extend government funding to reopen the government. But we also need to extend these tax credits so millions of Americans can actually afford their health care. So let's do both. No gimmicks, no changes. Let's reopen the government. But we can do that knowing that Jessica and Leslie and a whole bunch of other people that we represent can take their kid to a doctor and fill their prescriptions for another year. There is no reason why we can't agree on this. If you want to reopen the government and you want to help keep health insurance premiums from spiking, then let's do it. But if you say no, if you say you can't vote for something like this, well, let's just be honest about it. Tell the Jessicas and Leslies in your state that they're not going to be able to afford their health care anymore. Tell them that Donald Trump thinks that they should go to a food bank for groceries so they can have something to eat. Now, Madam President, I also think we need to be perfectly clear about why we are here and how we got here. All of this we have discussed over the last month is because Donald Trump and Republicans in the House and Senate wanted to give a big, giant tax cut to the wealthiest
Getting
Americans.
ready for this.
A $4 trillion giveaway. And again, Madam President, we want a deal. We can choose
Really
to fix
nice
this
steak.
so Jessica and Leslie and millions of others can afford to have basic health care.
Cooking.
I yield the floor.
Senator from Delaware.
Madam President, I actually have written notes here. I came prepared to talk about the importance of the ACA tax credits. And as I sat here, I prayed, what do I even say in this moment? There's a scripture that says, choose ye this day. Today, we have an opportunity to make a choice. We have an opportunity to do something that is so plain and so simple. There's a book in the Bible called the book of Habakkuk. A lot of people don't even know it. It's like three chapters. And in it, it says, we always hear how long, not long. No, in it, it says long. It says pain. It says corruption. It says suffering. But what it does say is make a plan and make it plain. So what we come today to say is we have something that is plain and simple and will lift up America. And that is the opportunity to both open the government and restore people's health care. It's that plain, it's that simple. We're not saying you're better than us and we're better than you. We're saying link them together on behalf of the American people. It's a sad day in America when people have to choose between their health care and housing, or their health care and food. We're not in a pandemic. There are no wars on our shores. This should not be a hard time for us. We are not without resources in this country. And so today, as many people are being priced out of the American dream, I ask my colleagues, come to the table, work with us. I'm so proud to be one of the freshman class, one of the most diverse classes in the history of this chamber, with Alyssa Slotkin, with Ruben Gallego, with Adam Schiff, with Andy Kim, and my sister, Senator Angela Alsobrooks. 5 of the 6 of us came from the House of Representatives. And so for us, it's almost like we have a foot in both worlds. And for us, this proposal is an opportunity to not only pass something here, but to pass something in the House that becomes a law and that gets something for the American people. We also have relationships and have been in conversations with our former House Republican colleagues who also want to get something done. And so today, again, off script, but in my heart, we are standing here for the American people saying, we can end this today. And we are saying to the President of the United States, I hope you can hear us. We are saying to the President of the United States, you said it yourself after Tuesday's election. This is hurting Republicans. Well, you know what? It's also hurting all of America. And so we hope that you will engage in something that is simple and clear. Open the government and make sure we restore people's tax credits together. Again, how long? Long if we choose to be. But we have a choice in this moment. And so we hope that you will come to the table. Let's make a deal. I yield back.
Mr. President.
Senator from Minnesota.
Mr. President, I thank the Senator from Delaware, wise words, and I thank Senator Schumer, all our colleagues that have gathered here today. We truly come in good faith. I thank our Republican colleague who is listening to us right now and for the good work that he has done in trying to bring people together. And we know there's a number of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle who've been working diligently with Democrats to try to resolve this. And we come in good faith because we know this isn't a blue state or a red state problem, it's everyone's problem. When we look at the people who are on these Affordable Care Act plans, they tend not to work at big corporations. If they did, they'd have health care. They do have health care. They tend not to work at government, local, state, federal. They tend to have health care. They work at small businesses. They are entrepreneurs, like the woman that I spent time with last weekend in Eagan, Minnesota, who has one employee, and she's so proud of her business. She's been doing better. And he had cancer a few years ago, and he got through it. He's married, has kids, and that plan, she pays for 75% of the premiums, her only employee, and he pays for 25% of the premiums. And she just looked at what would happen, and she thought, I don't know if I can keep him on. They're going to double. Those are the people we're talking about. Farmers and ranchers, 27% of the farmers in our country are on this kind of plan. So these are people that are just on the margins so much because they've decided to go out on their own and be entrepreneurs. Or when I talk to my rural hospitals, they tell me how the people who are on these plans, if they can't afford a doubling or tripling of the premiums, which is what we're seeing right now with the numbers that came out on the marketplace, if it's doubled or tripled, they'll just drop their plans because they've still got to get groceries, they still got to pay the mortgage, so then they're going to drop their plans, and then the rural hospitals, who are already just hanging on, aren't going to be able to make it. So it's this all of a mix of things that I think would defy people's predictions of who's depending on these plans, and I think we're starting to hear from them now. So we have this opportunity. This is really I'd say a practical plan. It looks at what we need to do to open the government again. It looks at the work that's been done by our great leaders in appropriations. And it says, okay, what can we do about health care right now? We disagreed with the bill that got passed this summer on our side, but what can we do right now? And what we can do right now is stop this doubling and tripling of these health care premiums. And it's not something that's going to help in the end of December or January. It's a now thing. They're making their decisions now. So that's why we came forward with a lot of people in our caucus, as you can imagine, having differing views and wanting more with good faith. But we figured this is a good idea so that we can, one, help these people in all our states, and then two, look at reforms. We are open for reforms, and then these reforms would have to be done before these tax credits expire at the end of next year. But it will get us through this, and most important, it'll get people through it, like Elizabeth of St. Peter, Minnesota, who told me, I have no idea how I'm going to come up with the extra $200 each month. This is what's happening. People who are terrified of what's going on. So we have this moment in time. We're ready to work through the weekend. We hope our colleagues are as well. So let's get to the table. I hope the president comes and meets with us. The amount of money we're talking about here is about the same as the money that went to Argentina. I'm not going to relitigate that, but it shows what we could do and why we could do it. So let's get it done. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I join all of my Democratic colleagues here today to offer this proposal on the health care issue that has been holding all of us here and all of the American public for weeks now. Because after Republicans refused to work with us to save the premium tax credits all this past year, what we hear Republican leaders saying now is they maybe, possibly, will talk about health care. It just has to be later. We are so far past that. Open enrollment is happening right now. Republicans have already pushed millions of Americans off that tax credit cliff. If we truly want to help these people, Republicans need to work with us as fast as possible to pass this clean one-year extension. This is not some pie-in-the-sky request. As my previous speaker alluded to, if Republicans had no problems with Trump shoveling nearly twice as much money at Argentina, why would they oppose giving this kind of support to our own American families? Is there no time for working families? Are there no funds for health care? Mr. President, I cannot accept that. We cannot accept that. We can act, but we have to do it now. Every day that passes, this damage gets worse, and, by the way, harder to reverse. The best and quickest way to address the mega healthcare hike is this clean one-year extension of the enhanced premium tax credit written into the CR that we ultimately will vote on to reopen the government. Like my colleagues, I have heard so many heartbreaking stories from people in my state. They're not political. They don't care about Democrats or Republicans. But I will tell you, they are at a breaking point. Some of them have been on the verge of tears as they talk to me, explaining how they simply cannot afford to buy health care for next year. That weighs heavily on me and all of my colleagues. We carry their stories with us. Their words are on repeat in my mind every minute I walk through these halls. I am here today fighting with my heart and soul. I'm giving Republicans every opportunity in the world to do the right thing. I've been out here on the floor, I've spoken ad nauseum about how letting these tax credits expire will actually hurt people in Republican states the most. So we're here today to say our hand is outstretched. We are ready to go, a one-year clean extension, and we can reopen the government and save so many families misery in this country. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
What's up, fam? Drop a like. Oscar in the house. Oh, boy. We had like 7
Senator
or 8.
Colorado.
Dems.
I speak today to echo the sentiments of my fellow members of the caucus. This is a moment where, at least in Colorado, we hear stories every day of people faced with the challenge of whether to pay their rent or to make sure they maintain their health care. People who have pre-existing medical conditions that are worried that if they go off their health care now, they might be pushed into a circumstance where they can only receive attention in emergency room situations, defeating the purpose of their treatments. By going forward and taking a one-year extension, nothing new, but just a one-year extension, we allow all those people in Colorado and across the country to sort through their health care issues, to re-equilibrate, and to make sure that they are not left out in the cold. And I think that's the key here. We're looking at tens of millions of people that will either lose their health care or have dramatically significant increases in the cost of their premiums if we do nothing. So I hope that we can come together and move forward with this clean CR with the extension of the subsidized tax credit for the ACA. Thank you. I yield the floor.
It's not happening today. It's just not happening today.
Mr. President,
Senator Morgan.
All across our country, in every congressional district, in every corner of every state, families are suffering. They're taking a look at what it's going to cost to buy health care for this coming year. And they're going, wow, I won't be able to afford that. I guess I'll go without. And we know what happens when people go without health care. And this.
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down? I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way. It's a politics of idiocy.
There will come a time where the impacts of this shutdown are irreversible. Food stamps will start to dry up. Are Democrats at least in part to blame for some of that?
No.
Because you are the ones.
We have a very simple request.
Address this concern. I think about some of the folks who have written in from my home state, and I know my colleagues on both sides of the aisle are getting the same letters and the same phone calls. Eric in Corvallis got a letter that his insurance premium is exploding from $183 to, get this, $1,588. Wow, that's, well, roughly a 7-fold increase. I heard from Leah in Eugene, whose monthly payment is going from $462 to $1,438. 3-fold increase. And Stacy in Lincoln City seen an increase from $1,300 to about $3,200, almost a $2,000 increase. So those stories are everywhere in our country. And there is so much work we can do on health care together. The president has said, let's negotiate on those complex issues after the government is opened. And those complex issues, they may be things like the cost-sharing reduction program. They may be things like, how do we lower the cost of drugs so we don't pay more for drugs than the folks in Canada across the border to the north pay for their drugs, or the folks in England or Australia or Japan. We can work together on strategies to see where there's waste in the system. Or are there scams and scandals in the system? Let's shine the light on them and let's fix them after the government reopens. But let's just do this one piece, extend one particular tax provision that's in law now for this coming year. So there's immediate relief to folks who are getting on the internet at this very moment and going, oh my goodness, I can't afford that. The Erics, the Leahs, the Stacys that exist in every corner of every state. I've been hearing from small businesses, and they've been saying Main Street is Pain Street. Why? Because so many of the small businesses in my state, and I'm sure in every state, go to the ACA exchange in order to buy insurance. And so they're reeling from that impact. They're reeling from other economic fluctuations in the country. And they're saying, can't you figure this out? Can't you figure this out? So I've been hearing from colleagues on both sides of the aisle, we want to fix these tax credits, these enhanced tax credits for people to buy insurance. Well, let's do it. We can open the government today. We can do it today. Today we can address the issue my colleague from Wisconsin was speaking to just an hour or so ago. He was saying people who are working should get a paycheck. That will happen if we pass this today. He was saying folks who are furloughed should get a paycheck. We can do that by putting them back to work, by opening the government today. And then we can negotiate on those complex issues to make this system work a whole lot better, because all of us know that our system is overly complicated, overly bureaucratic, inefficient, and we know that there can be improvements. So let's work on those things together. The proposal that the leader has put forward, the minority leader has put forward, says let's form a special committee to work on those issues and find some proposals to take us to a better place. That's the type of partnership that we need to give encouragement to the American people, that we're willing to work together to solve the challenges that they see every day in their lives at their kitchen table. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator from California.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, colleagues,
not
I rise in
this
support
one.
of this proposal to extend the ACA tax credits, extend the existing law for another year, reopen the government, and give us time to negotiate the longer-term extension of the Affordable Care Act. This whole discussion, and frankly the whole debate we've been having over the last several weeks over the Affordable Care Act, brings me back to the immediate aftermath of the passage of that bill when I was doing sidewalk office hours inside the Glendale Galleria. I had my little coffee table set up there and had someone come up to my table and ask me how I voted on that bill, how I voted on Obamacare. And when I told him that I voted for it, he was indignant. And he said, "What could you possibly have liked? What could you possibly have liked about that bill?" And I said, well, actually, there were a lot of things I liked about it. I liked the fact that if you had a pre-existing condition, you could get health care. I remember another of my constituents saying that he was 65. He was a pre-existing condition. I liked the fact if you had a kid who was 26 or under, you could keep them on your insurance policy if they didn't have one. And then I said, and I like the fact that tens of millions of people that can't otherwise afford health care are going to be able to get health care. And he looked at me and said something that I never imagined I would hear. He said, and you really think that's such a good idea? That is, that millions of people can't afford health care would be able to get it. And I said, well, yes, I do, don't you? And he said, no, I don't. If they can't afford it, they shouldn't have it. And I recognized the moment he said it that he was speaking for millions of people. I'd had one of those huge town halls with 3,000 people, and no one would say that
it's
even
over.
at those screaming town halls.
Breaking.
But his view was if they can't afford it, they shouldn't have it. And I think that view is really at the center of this debate. In the wealthiest country in the world, does the government have any responsibility to make sure that health care is accessible to people? I think we do. Now, who are these millions of people that are going to lose their health care if we don't extend the ACA tax credits? Well, let me just share the stories of two of them of my constituents who wrote to me. The first one said, my bronze HMO high deductible plan is $752 per month, and using most but not all of the tax credit, my monthly premium is $200 per month. That's using $552 worth of credits. I'm single, I'm currently single and retired, so my income is well within the limits to qualify for the credits, but if all the credits go away for 2026, this will wipe me out, and I will likely go without insurance, even though I know that's not a good idea. And here's the story of a second constituent. Anyone else gotten their health plans rates for 2026? I did today, and I will have to cancel mine. With chronic conditions requiring daily prescriptions, weekly doctor visits, current quarterly labs, and biannual mammograms, my share of cost will go up well over $1,000 per month. And as a senior on a fixed and low income, I could not possibly come up with $1,000 a month. Sadly, there are so many seniors who will be in this position. That's who we're talking about here. These are some of the millions of people that will lose their access to health care if we don't extend the ACA. So I urge support for this. As Leader Schumer said, we can reopen the government today if we can simply extend the tax credits for another year and give us time through a bipartisan commission to work on a more permanent extension. I urge support, and Mr. President, I yield back.
Senator from Connecticut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I thank my colleagues for this unified support for a measure that is eminently reasonable. I thank the leader of our side, Senator Schumer, for advancing this proposal. It is a compromise. It's simple and plain, and I'll be very blunt, it's not everything I would have wanted. Like the senator from Wisconsin, my friend Senator Baldwin, I would have wanted the health care tax credits to be permanently guaranteed. I would have wanted a guarantee as well that there be no rescissions or impoundments of funds, as this president has done repeatedly. I would have wanted a reversal of the firings, the so-called RIFs, reductions in forces, that have been eminently unfair, and a guarantee of back pay to everybody who has been furloughed. There are other provisions that, for me, were profoundly important. It is a compromise, and compromise is not a four-letter word. It is the way we get things done. And this picture of unity is worth 1,000 of my words, but it is also a clear response to a crisis that we face. And we face it today. It is a crisis in healthcare. It's a crisis in hunger. It's a crisis in air transportation. And for millions of Americans, it's a crisis of affordability. Nobody in America needed Tuesday's election to tell them that the costs of rent and electricity and food and all the other necessities in life are spiraling out of control. And yes, healthcare costs are spiraling out of control. And they are at the kitchen table right now across America, looking at the exchanges and concluding they simply can't afford those spiking premiums, multiples of 3 and 4 times, and at least twice what they were paying. And many of them are taking the risk that they will go without insurance. This measure guarantees an outcome. The majority leader, Senator Thune, has said he can't guarantee an outcome. All he can promise is a process. And I am unwilling to accept a promise of some vote at an indefinite point on an undefined bill sometime in the future, because the urgency of now for American families means they are making choices about whether they can afford insurance this moment for next year. And in fairness to the majority leader, he can't promise anything for either the Speaker of the House or the President. And they have been absent without leave. They have been AWOL. They have refused to talk. And we are presenting them now with a reasonable compromise that the majority leader can accept and our colleagues on the other side of the aisle should embrace. And the problem here is one of trust. What we've seen from the administration is a strategy of maximum pain to magnify political pressure. In just minutes from now, in the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, this administration will argue that SNAP benefits should be ended after the president himself promised that they would be paid in full in compliance with the district court orders in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. There's no way to trust that SNAP benefits will be provided without a guarantee from the courts. The urgency that we face is also in air transportation. We all want people to be able to reach their destinations safely. It has to come first, and we need to make sure that the TSA and air controllers are paid. They are heroes for having worked for so long.
Talking about that?
They're already at work right now with $0. What we're seeing is the fact, can they get to work? So I think the term of art of calling in sick is probably being a bit misconstrued throughout this process. So people aren't calling in sick. They're either fit for duty or they're not. But what they're having issues with is getting to work. They're saying, especially our new employees that are just training or starting out in this career, they've moved hundreds, if not thousands of miles in the highest cost of living area there is, trying to start out their life and saying, they're calling their employer and saying, I have no gas today. I cannot pay for my childcare. Can I bring my children to work? These are real situations. We cannot just continue to sit out there. They're already racking up their credit cards. They're taking out every loan that they can. And to somehow think that this system's going to run perfect 37 days later, that people aren't going to have real problems when they're expecting pay. We're not out here begging for more. We're out here saying, give us what we deserve. And that is completely un-American to keep these people's wages from them every single day that this continues to drag on. So they're showing up, they're doing everything they can, but real life situations are happening. And it will take time because it will take over 2 months for them to get the proper back pay that they deserve from what they earned in October.
In Iowa, Aaron Lehman, a fifth-generation farmer who told us, I grow corn, soybeans, oats, and hay with my family. The Affordable Care Act has been one of the best investments in rural health care in decades. We cannot afford as a nation to go back to the days when pre-existing conditions were a pretext for denying health care if someone had a history of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, HIV, asthma, depression, pregnancy, the list goes on. Insurers could force patients to pay more or refuse to offer them coverage at all. Standing strong for the ACA very simply means providing health care to Americans. Extending the health care tax credits for 1 year is a compromise that makes sense. It will put the government back to work fully and capably and fairly, and I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting this reasonable compromise. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from Vermont.
Thank you.
Oh boy.
Mr. President, we are now in the
one and only
day of a government shutdown. That means that federal employees all over this country who have to feed their families are not getting paychecks. It means that air traffic controllers are forced to work crazy hours, and we worry about the safety of our flights right now. We worry about Capitol Police officers right here in D.C. having a hard time feeding their families. These are hard-working people who are doing important work. They deserve respect. They deserve to be paid. This shutdown must end as quickly as possible. And on top of the fact that we have hundreds of thousands of workers not getting paid, we now have a president who, for the first time in the history of this country, is willing to allow our kids, low-income, working-class children, to go hungry in order to try to make a political point, a point, by the way, that the American people are seeing through. Mr. President, the cause of this shutdown is not complicated. For the first time in ever, the majority party in the Senate, which needs 60 votes to pass a budget, is refusing to negotiate. It is their way or the highway, take it or leave it. We got the majority, we're not talking to you, despite the fact that they only have 53 votes. And to make this situation even more absurd, and to show the American people the contempt in which the Republicans hold for negotiations and democracy, you got a Speaker of the House who has now given his members a 6-week paid vacation. Country is in the midst of a major crisis. Republican members of the House are nowhere to be seen. They're on a paid vacation. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about whether Republicans are willing to negotiate, I don't know what will. Mr. Speaker, everybody in this country knows that our current health care system is broken. They know that we pay by far, not even close to the highest prices in the world for health care, while some 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. They know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right, something which must change. And what they also know is that Donald Trump and the Republicans, through their horrendous, big, beautiful bill, are making a broken, dysfunctional health care system even worse, taking it to the verge of collapse. That legislation is doubling premiums for over 20 million Americans who are in the Affordable Care Act exchange. And in my state, we are hearing from Vermonters who are being asked to pay a tripling of their rates and even a quadrupling of the rates. Who, in God's name, at a time when health care costs are already so high, can afford a doubling, a tripling, or quadrupling of their rates? That is insane. Nobody in my state, or I expect in this country, can afford to pay that. Further, that big, beautiful bill would throw 15 million people off the health care they now have as a result of massive cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. According to studies, that would result in some 50,000 Americans dying unnecessarily every year. Low-income, working-class people who have chronic illnesses who will no longer be able to get health care. That is what we are being discussed. Anybody think it's a good idea to allow 50,000 of our fellow Americans to die unnecessarily each year? And all of this is being done in order to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. No, Mr. President, I do not believe that Elon Musk and Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Bezos and the other multi-billionaires deserve $1 trillion in tax breaks in order to throw 15 million Americans off the health care they have and double premiums for over 20 million Americans. I don't believe that. The overwhelming majority of Republicans, Democrats, Independents don't believe that either. Mr. President, the American people understand that the Republican Party controls the White House, they control the Senate, they control the House of Representatives. And understandably, for that reason, poll after poll shows that Americans hold the Republicans accountable for this shutdown. But it's not just polls. On Tuesday, there was an election in which Trumpism was overwhelmingly rejected from Maine to California and a lot of states and cities in between. And one of the key reasons is that Americans want Democrats to make certain that they do not experience huge increases in their health care premiums or get thrown off the health care they have. That is what they are saying. We cannot afford a doubling or tripling in our health care costs. Stand with us. That's what that election was significantly about. President Trump claims to be a deal maker. In fact, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Well, Mr. President, the ball is in your court right now. Help negotiate a deal. Show us what a great deal maker you are. Help us negotiate a deal which protects the health care of tens of millions of Americans, and let us end this shutdown today. We can end it in the next few hours. So, Mr. President, that is what this struggle is about. That's what this shutdown is all about. It's whether Republicans succeed in making a broken and dysfunctional healthcare system even worse by making healthcare unaffordable for working class and middle class Americans. It's about whether millions of our fellow Americans no longer have health insurance and that many of them will die unnecessarily. So, Mr. President, we are hearing right now, every one of our offices are hearing tragic stories of families having to decide whether they can pay for their parents' cancer treatment, for example, or whether they will see a parent die without that life-saving care. There are millions of Americans now dealing with chronic disease. They're dealing with cancer, they're dealing with diabetes, they're dealing with Alzheimer's, they're dealing with heart disease. And they are wondering, if they get thrown off the health care, premiums go so high, how are they going to stay alive? How are they going to take care of their parents, their kids? That is what this shutdown is about. And whether it is in Maine, New Hampshire, Nevada, or Vermont, the American people want us to stand with them. And that is what this whole debate is about. We cannot fail the American people. They are looking to us to make sure that they continue to have health care. Let us not betray them. Thank you.
Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, I actually like good local journalism. I'm going to fight as hard as I can in the United States Congress to keep local journalism and fight AI that basically might obliterate it for all intents and purposes. So I'm just going to read my statement here. In an article printed in the Vancouver Columbian on August 11th, 2025, the headline is, Child Care Owner Urges Congress to Take Action to Save the Affordable Care Act Tax Credit Expansions. The owner of East Vancouver Child Care Center joined Senator Cantwell, D. Washington, Monday to draw attention to Washington's rising health care costs. The two spoke at a news conference at Tree Hill Learning Center on East 196th Avenue, along with representatives from the local insurance agency and the workforce Southwest Washington. Washington's insurance commissioner said that in May, the 14 health insurers in the state were seeking a rate increase for next year, and the proposed increases for plans sold on the individual health insurance market averaged 21% and ranged from anywhere from 9.6% to 37.3%. The office expects premium increases to affect 300 people statewide. Dana Christensen, the owner of Tree Hill Learning Center, said this isn't the first time she has faced rising healthcare costs for her two Vancouver child care facilities. Each year, I face a difficult decision of how much this rate increase, currently 24%, do I take on and absorb, Christensen said. How much do I pass on to the employee? How much do I pass on to the families in the form of higher child care tuition increases? Each rate increase request is evaluated independently by actuarial staff, said Aaron Van Tool, spokesman for the Insurance Commissioner's Office. That's mandated by state law. But the rate changes are usually finalized in September, Van Tool said. Claims and administrative costs, medical, prescription drugs, company expenses, profits will be reviewed by the Commissioner's Office as all part of determining if they are reasonable. Cantwell called the proposed increases a threat to child care affordability. The Insurance Commissioner's Office said Congress anticipated failure to renew the enhanced premium tax credits is contributing to the proposed increases. Congress created the premium tax credits in 2014 as part of the Affordable Care Act to lower health care plan premiums for eligible households. The American Rescue Plan in 2021 expanded who was eligible for the credit, and the Inflation Reduction Act extended it to this year. It is set to expire at the end of this year. We all know the increased rates are something we can deal with in Congress, Cantwell said. That is why today I'm urging Congress to take action on the Affordable Care Act tax credits and their expansions, and to make sure we do so before the end of the year. The Senator's office said rate increases are being requested nationwide, and 3 states have already approved them. The Congressional Budget Office expects fewer people will participate in subsidized exchanges, and the uninsured rate will climb if the enhanced premiums aren't extended. NBC News reported earlier this year that Republican lawmakers are split on whether to extend the tax credit. Some said the federal government could no longer support it, while others wanted it extended. Just a little side note before I keep reading. At that point in time, 5 of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle said they wanted the tax credits extended. That was early in August. The Washington Health Benefit Exchange, the state's health insurance marketplace, estimated 216,000 health plan enrollees in Washington were eligible for the enhanced premium credits. Christensen said her business already operates on thin margins. I view providing health care benefits not as a perk, but a fundamental necessity, she said. I never want an unforeseen illness to financially ruin an employee or force them to neglect their health care. Still, rising health care costs are forcing her clientele to reconsider if they can afford to keep their child in a licensed facility or continuing to work at all. Quote, "We cannot solve this problem alone," Christensen said. "We need the support of lawmakers, the insurance industry, the regulatory agencies to address the root cause of the rates and increase disproportionately in the increases and disproportionately affecting those who need it most." As the clock continues to tick here, that's actually the end of the story. I wanted to read that story because that was August, and it showed at that point in time we had people on this side of the aisle who wanted to negotiate. They were in the news. I summated it by saying there were 5 people, but I'm sure there's more by now. So that is why we're asking with this simple proposal, let's open the government, extend these tax credits for a year, because we know there's bipartisan support in both the House and Senate to do that, and continue to reform this so we can keep this child care facility in Vancouver, Washington in business. Let's not make this, we've shared a lot of stories about individual people, but we haven't shared enough stories about the small business impact and the economic impact to employers when you take affordable health insurance away from them and they don't have options. This owner lamented in the story, which should I do? Do I absorb these costs and not be a profitable business? Do I make these employees not have health insurance? Do I raise these costs and then these parents can't have the child care that they need to stay? She told me on that day that literally some people decided to stop work because they no longer could afford child care. So this is ruining our whole economic picture by making insurance too expensive, by making the cost play too big a role in our economy and taking workers away from us. So I support this 1-year proposal. I support us working together to reform the system. I've championed many things in the Affordable Care Act that have driven down costs, and I will work with any of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to continue and expand that work, because it is important. It is important for us to continue to have affordability, particularly in health care, as we have a rising baby boomer population reaching retirement age. We have no other choice but then to focus on affordability. I thank the President, and I yield the floor.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Mr. President, thank you. Millions of Americans are counting on Democrats to stop Donald Trump and the Republicans from raising health care costs. And I'm here to say Democrats will not back down. Fighting to lower health care costs is a righteous fight. For too many Americans, health care premiums are going up by hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month. Who has that kind of money? Just this week, I talked to a woman in Florida, practically in Donald Trump's backyard. She is a wife, she is a mother of 4 live kids, and she is about to lose her health insurance because of Trump's cuts. So what does that mean for her? She has malignant melanoma, and now she is looking at canceling her ongoing treatments because once she loses her insurance, she cannot afford treatment for her cancer. That is deeply, deeply wrong. Democrats are in this fight for the right reason, and Democrats will stay in this fight for the right reasons. In July, congressional Republicans worked hand in hand with President Trump on their biggest passion project, jamming through a bill to hand out massive tax cuts to millionaires, billionaires, and giant corporations. And then, just to put a little extra whipped cream on top of their Republican ice cream sundae, they paid for those billionaire tax cuts by slashing health care coverage for millions of Americans. Every single Republican voted for it, and every single Democrat voted against it. And when the Republicans voted to cut health care funding last July, Democrats said, we cannot sign off on a 2026 budget that cuts health care for millions of Americans. On September 30th, the 2025 budget expired, and Democrats were ready to negotiate to get some of those health care cuts reversed in the 2026 budget, but the Republicans didn't want to negotiate. Nope. The Republicans decided they would rather shut down government than offer a single nickel to help Americans manage health care costs. They told Democrats to vote for the Republican spending bill, take it or leave it. And they have repeated their take it or leave it through 15 votes and 38 days. Now, Democrats have asked over and over and over and over to negotiate to help Americans with their health care costs. But Donald Trump and the Republicans flatly refused to even talk to Democrats to try to get the government back open. Not even once have the Republicans been willing to negotiate, not once. So, where are we now? Well, Trump tweeted 7 times in one day about his brand new marble bathroom at the White House, while Americans turned to crowdfunding to pay for their health care and grocery bills. Trump hosted a Great Gatsby-themed party while he turned off food assistance for millions of Americans. You know the message to 42 million Americans from Donald Trump? Eat dirt. And Trump is weighing the important idea of etching corporations' names into his grand new gold-encrusted ballroom, while millions of Americans who lose their health insurance will get sick and be forced to decide whether to give up care altogether or go bankrupt trying to pay for it. Meanwhile, Republicans in Congress are in disarray. The House is now in its 7th week of paid vacation. They couldn't reopen the government if they wanted to because they aren't even in Washington to vote. They have members, Republican and Democratic members, who want a deal on health care. But Speaker Johnson just says, nope, everyone spend another week on paid vacation. And here on the Senate side, Republicans are in chaos. Leader Thune puts the same bill up over and over for the same votes, but he won't talk about changing a single word. And now he can't even organize a vote among Republicans to reorganize the government. Instead, Republicans are fighting with Republicans over what to do, and still no one says, let's help families on health care and get the government open. So, Democrats have put a proposal on the table. Lower costs by extending health tax credits for 1 year and reopen government. Do it all in one vote. And during this next year, we will continue to work to make our health care system work better. It's a common sense plan that helps people across this country and that gets our government open. The Senate could do its part to reopen government in less than an hour. We can do it right now, this afternoon. We just have to put the interests of the American people ahead of politics. Americans are demanding, urging, begging Congress to do something. Do something before Americans are forced to get sicker and sicker before they can get health care. Do something before health care costs go up and up and up for everyone in this country. People are sick of Washington politics. So we ask our Republican colleagues, help us do what is right for the American people and help us do it right now. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I stand here today on behalf of the people of Massachusetts to say that we are angry. We are angry that Trump and MAGA Republicans are doubling the cost for millions of Americans, and their health care bills are going to skyrocket when they promised lower prices. We are angry that Trump and MAGA Republicans are stripping Medicaid from the most vulnerable people in our communities. We are angry that Trump and the MAGA Republicans are making families with hungry children go to food pantries for their next meal, forcing families to choose between groceries and rent. We are angry that Trump and MAGA Republicans are using public servants as pawns in their hateful political games. And we are angry that during all of this, the Republicans have refused to come to the negotiating table. The House of Representatives has been out for 6 weeks. They're in a political witness protection program across our nation, refusing to come to Washington to sit down to negotiate on these issues. And Americans are counting the hours that are left to solve this health care crisis for them and their families. They're looking around for help. They're looking around for hope. And they are all looking instead at cruelty, pain, fear. That is the agenda of Trump's MAGA Republican Party. Last weekend, I met with Jeff from Natick, who is fighting stage 4 lung cancer. He pays $35,000 a year for an affordable care, health care plan. $35,000 a year. If he can't keep that insurance plan on December 31st, he will have to pay $300,000 a year. Jeff does not have $300,000. That's about to hit him in about 7 weeks. Barbara, she retired early to take care of her spouse with dementia. Her bill's going from $7,500 a year to $18,000 a year. She cannot afford that. There are 22 million stories like Jeff, like Barbara, 22 million of them, who are facing Thanksgiving and Christmas over the next 7 weeks, and there are no answers for them. 22 million people. That's outrageous. These people are afraid and they're angry. By the way, we saw a lot of that anger come out on Tuesday night. They came out angry. They came out of fear to vote. That's what happened. And it's only going to build and build and build as each day goes by, and we cannot get an answer from the Republicans on how are we going to handle those people? How are we going to give them what they need for those families? And it is very difficult to fathom this abject cruelty of this president, who is happy to force grandma to choose between paying for her prescription and paying for her heating bill, forcing a caretaker to choose between being there for their parent with Alzheimer's or picking up an extra shift, forcing a single mom to choose between paying for a checkup or paying for after-school snacks. And since they have taken over in January, the Republicans have promised that they were going to solve the health care crisis in our country. And all it's done is grow and grow and grow. And they pass a bill to take away all of the health care coverage for all of these 22 million people and then transferred the money to billionaires in tax breaks. They swiped the health care of 22 million vulnerable people for billionaires. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great Massachusetts poet, said, "Health is the first wealth." And MAGA Republicans and Trump have looted that wealth, that health, for those people. These people are angry and they're afraid. They're afraid. They don't have the backup funding that millionaires and billionaires have. Now, my father drove a truck for the Hood Milk Company. He drove a truck for the Hood Milk Company. I'm his son. And I believe that God created a world where every single person is able to receive the health care which they are entitled to. 3 meals a day, put children through school, keep them safe from illness, give Americans dignity in tough times. Those are the families we're talking to right now. It's the milkmen, it's the workers in nursing homes, it's the children across our country who are going to see a loved one lose their health care in 7 weeks. And the Republicans refuse to come to the table. Every American has a right to live in dignity in tough times. That's where we are right now. They're facing increases in electricity costs, in healthcare costs, in food costs, in clothing costs, in everything. And we can solve at least the healthcare part of this issue right here. The richest nation in the world can ensure peace and health and opportunity for every man and woman and child in our country. We're the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. And the Republicans are about to let 22 million of them lose their health insurance or see it increase by double or triple, or in the case of Eric from Natick, 10 times, from $30,000 a year to $300,000 a year, and he is in stage 4 lung cancer? And we're not even discussing this. The House of Representatives is at a vacation for 6 weeks. Well, those 6 weeks, if you project them forward from now, we're talking about Christmas. That's what we're talking about. What are we in the world is in the mind of Donald Trump that he would allow these families for the next 6 weeks to worry about where the coverage for their family is going to come from? The very least we can do is extend the Affordable Care Tax Credits for 1 more year and provide some desperately needed relief for those who are struggling to get by, who need our help right now, who need the peace of mind right now. Those 220 Republicans on that political witness protection program that they're on across the country, they're going to have health insurance for their families. They don't have to worry this Thanksgiving or Christmas about the conversation that's going to take place. And all we're asking for is a vote to provide that health care for the next year for those families and reopen the government so the federal workers can get paid and go back on the job. Pretty simple. And we're looking for any Republican anywhere to come and discuss it with us, negotiate it with us. And they just keep saying no. So this anger that people are feeling, these people are pissed off at the federal government, pissed off that they're losing coverage for their family members. And they want the Republicans to come to the table to solve this problem. What we saw on Tuesday night was the beginning of this anger being translated into action. They asked the ancient Greek philosopher once, when would we know true justice? And he answered, we will know true justice when those who have not been harmed are as angry as those who have been harmed. And across our country right now, those who have not been harmed are angry on behalf of those who are about to be harmed. 22 million people losing their health insurance, seeing skyrocketing health insurance rates. Families, 42 million of them without food stamps, without SNAP programs for nutrition for their families. People are angry, and they deserve an answer. And all we're asking for is 1 year so that we can negotiate this issue. 1 year so we can give peace of mind to 22 million families that they know they will have health insurance after this Thanksgiving and Christmas. I thank you, Mr. President. I yield back.
Senator from Oregon.
President, I support this proposal and would like Americans to know why. Since before Donald Trump was sworn in for a second term, Senate Democrats have known that this is a health care problem for millions of American families that cries out for fixing. Again and again, we asked our Republican colleagues to work with us, sit with us, and negotiate improvements in a black-letter law that makes Americans' health care better for American families. Again and again, we were turned down. So, on the Senate Finance Committee, everybody knew this day was coming long before Donald Trump took the oath of office. Now the crisis is here, and I'm here to say our door is still open. The Senate Finance Committee has a track record of getting bipartisan work done. Senator Crapo and I wrote a bill that transformed how pharmacy benefit managers work in Medicare. It passed the Finance Committee 26-0. Despite this track record, Republicans still refuse to sit down and even have a conversation about how to help these Americans afford their premiums. That's why we've all been out on the floor today. I'm in the fight for Bart and Carla from Eugene, Oregon. A few years away from Medicare, they've had long careers as a carpenter and a teacher. They worked hard. Now the rug is being pulled out from under them. They've been paying $400 a month in premiums. Without an extension of the credits, they're going to pay $2,200 a month. That's an increase they just can't handle. My Republican colleagues have provided a host of excuses about why they can't work with us, but the excuses don't hold water. For example, there have been allegations of fraud, the same straw man that they used to make the largest Medicaid cuts in history. Republicans pretend they're fighting fraud, but really they're just pushing up costs and kicking working people off their health insurance. And so, to again try to bring everybody together, we introduced legislation that would prevent bad actor brokers from enrolling or switching people into plans without their knowledge. That way we could slap fraudsters with criminal penalties when they harm consumers. On the Republican side, after all the talk, no co-sponsors. Finally, there's been an excuse that says this policy was created during COVID, and now that the pandemic has passed, the tax credits ought to lapse too. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see Republicans coming down to the floor, for example, to say that telehealth benefits for seniors on Medicare should expire because they were created during the pandemic. This is something I feel strongly about, as my friend from Minnesota knows. I wrote that with the late Orrin Hatch on a bipartisan basis again. The first Trump administration used them to great success. Just because a good health care policy was created in a crisis moment doesn't mean it ought to be ripped away from Americans once the crisis is passed. especially when ending that policy would create a new crisis for over 20 million people who no longer will be able to afford good quality health care. Those are just a couple of the Republican excuses. But the bottom line is, over here, we want to protect families' health care and keep premiums from rocketing into the stratosphere. And unfortunately, the Republicans haven't shared that view. My hope is, and we've had an important conversation, appreciate the leadership, Senator Klobuchar, we've had an important conversation about trying to get our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do the right thing. Join us as we've done so often in the Senate Finance Committee, and lower Americans' health care costs. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from Georgia.
I believe in health care. Your health, my mother told me a long time ago, is everything, so take care of your health. It is vital. It is essential. And I believe that health care is a human right. And it is certainly something that the wealthiest nation on the planet and in the history of humankind can and ought to provide for all of its citizens. It is right, it is fair, but it is also smart. A healthy nation is a strong nation. Healthy children are ready to learn. And so that's why I've worked so hard and so long with my colleagues on this issue. Matter of fact, long before I came to the Senate, I've been focused on this issue of health care, trying to get my home state of Georgia to expand, and I keep preaching that sermon because right now there are more than 500,000 Georgians who are in the health care coverage gap. I came here in 2017 to this place not as a senator but as a pastor and as an activist. And I remember getting arrested, I believe in 2017, when there were major health care cuts on the table. And as I began to make my argument and gathered with other pastors in the rotunda, the Capitol Police, very professionally, but they began to say to us, pastors, you can't gather and pray in the rotunda, we'll have to arrest you. But what they didn't understand is that I had already been arrested. My mind and my imagination had been arrested by this idea that surely the American nation can do better than this. Healthcare is a human right. Dr. King, who led the church that I am still honored to lead, said that of all the injustices, inequality in healthcare is the most shocking and the most inhumane. And that's why I was proud to join my colleagues, and I am proud to stand with my colleagues in this fight. This is about 22 million Americans who will see their health care premiums double, some triple, some quadruple. And this is not theoretical stuff for me. These are the people in my community. These are folks sitting in the pews of my church. And many of them will lose their health care if something doesn't happen. A few weeks ago, I was at the Evans County Memorial Hospital in Evans County. And I got to tell you, that's a red district. I don't have a whole lot of votes. I got some. Claxton, Georgia, known for the fruitcakes. And I was at that hospital, and I can tell you that those folks were already worried because of the draconian cuts to Medicaid in the big, beautiful bill, so-called beautiful bill. 15 million Americans already standing to lose their health care, and then the premiums raised for 22 million Americans while giving Elon Musk and people like him a tax cut. That's beyond the pale of partisanship. For me, that's not about Democrats and Republicans. You ask ordinary people on the street if they think that's fair. I can tell you that those folks in Evans County, many of who did not vote for me, but I am fighting for them because I am their senator too. They're worried about it. And so that's why we've been in this fight, and that's why we continue to stand to this very day. It's day 38. And we're holding vigil because of the pain of the people we represent. And there's a lot of pain to go around. 22 million whose premiums may go up, have gone up. They're seeing it on the portals right now. Federal workers who've been furloughed. The kids who like me, are in Head Start. We've got Head Start centers that are about to shutter because of the government shutdown. And let's be honest, the folks on SNAP were dragged into this fight. They were not a part of this. They were dragged into this fight. There are already legal provisions to make sure that they are cared for, and this administration right now is defying a court order to feed America's hungry people. With all of that pain, from the crisis in health care, from the ongoing government shutdown, we come to our sisters and our brothers on the other side and we extend the hand of compromise. Because it hasn't taken me long to learn that really that's the only way you get anything done in this body. I work all the time with colleagues with whom I disagree about 90% of the time. Because it's not about them and it's not about me, it's about the people we represent. And the founders were wise to organize our government in such a way that that's the only way to have sustainable change, is to do it on a bipartisan basis. And so my colleagues have taken their position.
Welcome every single person right here watching. If you're thinking, when will the vote happen? Why do they keep talking about this conversation that's now 38 days, ongoing? And no, it's not going to pass today based on what the situation we just saw. Republicans rejected that one about an hour ago. I decided to come live because I knew that they started at around 12 p.m. East. I was here like around 1 or so. They keep talking, maybe for 1 more or 2 hours. They'll vote and it's not going to pass. Meaning that this whole week gone, the weekend gone, and then next week we'll see. So, question and answer, why are we pumping? I mean, I could start by telling you what happened in October. I mean, it will take me like 20 minutes, right? But you already know. We have so many great news. I don't think this pump is solid. I don't think this pump is trustworthy. I don't think this pump. It could be if there's like something coming from the FOMC. I saw some of the comments saying that they're thinking about cutting in December, which is great. If that's the case, yes, obviously you'll see some positive appreciation in the value of everything, which is nice. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. But when it comes to the shutdown, there's just no clear direction right now. It's just going to be closed for this week and for this entire weekend. So sad but true. A lot of people obviously hurting. And we'll just come back next week and see what in the world is going to win, when the cup will be finally received by them and say, okay, you know what, it's time. But we'll see. But I'm thrilled and grateful that, You even saw me eat. I cooked it. I saw you. You know, the steak, the meat. It was frozen, so I put it into the air fryer, and now it's right here in my belly. Plus dessert, of course. I invite you guys to see everything behind the scenes, right? And it's fun. It's exciting. You know, welcome my community, of course. I wish we had more things, but it's going to take a little longer for them to vote. Sadly, it seems it's going to be a no pass. So we wanted to give you the news before, you saw him, because a couple hours from now, you'll see that for sure. And Trump doesn't have any other showings today other than, what we saw. And yep, they're not gonna do it today. Closing the poll. Beyond stakeout. 4,000 votes, 50%. Exactly 50% people say that the fault is with the Democrats. And all of them 33.
It's the grassroots.
And he'll continue talking, and we'll see who else, right? But I want to say thank you guys for stopping by. I'm out. God bless you all. Let us know in the comments again. Hopefully you are all liking this new system that we have where we show you, the comments. I think it's pretty awesome, so people know, and then it's recorded in the library that you were here. But yeah, we'll see what's going to happen later today. And so, if you bought the dip a couple days ago, well done. You're in the money. And we like to be in the money. Dangerous Dave, Brandon, and everybody here as my admins. Thank you, guys. You take care, and I'll see you next time. Links down below for BTCC, the whole deal. You still have chance to get a 2,000 Xrp giveaway. We're gifting thousands of dollars, to people at the end of the month. Xrp, BTCC, we have a great partnership. Thank you, John 316. I didn't see you there. Quentin, thank you. You were here since the very beginning, Quentin. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that a lot. You're not allowed to go. D-Hogs, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Quentin, look, don't do anything, okay? Don't ban, don't close, don't delete, don't do anything. But I'm going to give you the title of moderator. This one helps me as a thank you, for sticking with us, sticking with the channel. It just gives you another reason to be proud of this community, man. So thank you so much, bro. Don't do anything. Don't worry about muting or don't click anything. Just continue doing what you're doing, all right? Food coma needs a nap right now. I do want to get a nap a little bit, 20 minutes or so power nap for sure. So everybody, you take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.